Well, everybody, I just want to talk a little bit about bikes, about the CRF450L, 3,500 miles. This is my review. Absolutely flawless. I have no complaints about the bike, really. I don't have any complaints. Except, I mean, that's why I say that, but the stock tires, and I'm really not complaining about them because they do a good job for what they are for. You know, they're actually 90% street and 10% dirt, and that's what they are. You go pushing it past that and you realize it. I've rode this thing, gravel roads are fine on these tires. A little bit, you can feel the bike walking a little bit on these tires compared to motocross tires, but all in all, they're not bad for gravel roading and back roading like this. But now if you go off in the woods, me and my son here, it's been a couple months ago, we went to Chadwick OHV Park, and it's Chadwick, Missouri is actually where it's at, but the tires absolutely sucked. The bike was great. I didn't have a problem even with the gearing. People say it's too high geared. I had no problem with the gearing. The tires absolutely was worthless. And my son, you know, he's got that CRF450F. The tires on it was great. He didn't have no problem at all. But me, I mean, I worked. I actually laid this thing over once, hitting those berms and thinking I'm a youngster again, but I laid it over. You come out of a mud hole, or trying to come out of a mud hole, and it's slick mud where a motocross tire would have bit. This thing here, it didn't. And I laid it over, skinned it up a little bit on this side panel. I actually bought new graphics and put on here, and a new front fender. It scratched it a little bit. But the CRF450L, I'd recommend it to anybody. It's great for me. I weigh 235 pounds, 6'1", 235 pounds, and to me it's perfect. I never messed with the front suspension, but I cranked the rear spring up. I just tightened the spring down, and so it didn't sag so much. But other than that, it's great. Plenty of power, just for casual riding and trail riding, back roading. I've done the oil changes. I've done the valve adjustment, the first valve adjustment, which the intake was a little bit off, not bad. The exhaust was just right on the money, and all the oil changes. No, I mean, the oil was actually pretty clean. The first time was actually the worst, and that was at 600 miles I did it, and that oil was pretty, no, actually it was 300 miles, I'm sorry, 300 miles, and then but anyway, but the CRF450L is a great bike. My son's looking for a CRF230, which I think would be for him because it's a little lighter weight. I think it'd be a good choice for him. Not much more for a used bike. He could buy a CRF450L instead of a 230. But anyway, I think the perfect bike. This bike is, I love it. But if I was to have any wish of anything any different, or I thought would be better, would be a CRF450L. I think that would be the perfect bike. Not too big and heavy. If they'd make a CRF450L, it don't have to be, I'm sorry, 450L. You wouldn't want to use the motocross motor off the CRF450R because, you know, it's not tuned and it's not going to last long enough to be ridden as a dual sport bike. You know, it's made for off-road. It's pumped up too much. But they could make a detuned one. It'd last longer, and it'd have a little more power than this. Get something that would run 85 miles an hour, no problem. And they could still make it get pretty good gas mileage, fuel injection. that would be absolutely the perfect dual sport bike. CRF450L. Unless you're wanting to run nation, you know, from one side of the country to the other, back and forth, and need one of those big BMWs or something like that. Some of those big KTMs. That would be my dream bike. And they may come out with it someday. Everybody thinks that they're going to come out with a CRF450L because they did come out with the CBR300R. I don't know that they'll do that. I've looked around and I've talked around, and I think that wouldn't be a move they'll do. They've done that because other companies, you know, have the 300s. Is why they've done the little crotch rocket that way. But on the 250, I think they'll keep it at 250 like this instead of making it the 300. Just because that's the class, you know, that this is a CRF450L, and you have the CRF450R. They look a lot alike. One's just a dual sport model. Totally different bike. Don't get me wrong, this is nothing like a CRF450R. It's a steel frame. The motor is not even close to the same motor. Yeah, there's some stuff that may be inspired by it, but there's no comparison in the power or the setup. But I think if you agree, post a comment on here that a CRF450L would be the perfect dual sport bike. Let's see if we can get some conversation going about it. I think a lot of you guys will agree with me. But for now, they don't have one, and I wouldn't go with no other brand but Honda anyway. I'm a Honda through and through, 100%. I've had other things, but I'm a Honda person, so I'll stay with the CRF450L. If they ever come out with one, most likely I would have one. But hey, comment, click subscribe, click like on all my videos, and I'll catch you in the next video. Goodbye.